they're always there. Action Force are there. Action Force will dare. Action Force. Now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, Joe Slepsky, and joining me once again is Michael Nie for another episode of Joe-Nie Loves Action Force. Michael, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Good to have you. This week, we've got some Transformers action in Action Force.
For the first time ever for British readers, I will note that at this time, the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover had happened in the U.S. So had they wanted to, they could have, pulled from that story and reprinted it and made that the intro. But nope, they ignored that completely.
Yeah, they didn't want General Hawk to be too much of a Lothario.
That's right. So yeah, they created their own intro to the Transformers.
So exciting. You imagine just being a young British kid minding your own business, thinking about how much you hate Margaret Thatcher, and all of a sudden, bam, transforming robots in your life.
That's right.
That's very exciting. So I can't wait to get into it. We also have just a brief little one-shot story that is a lot of fun, very reminiscent of kind of, I'll say standard, but I don't mean that in an insulting way, but some standard animation episodes, like the trope of, I got a buddy and he's in trouble and I got to sacrifice that you've never heard of, and I've got to sacrifice everything to save him. Like that's a fun adventure. So
all in 5 pages.
So strap it in, and we hope you enjoy this week. Let us know what you're thinking about Joe-Nie Loves Action Force. I'm gonna spit that out, by the way, in one easy mouthful one day, and it'll be in the last episode. Say hi on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Joe on Joe Pod. Send me an email to joeonjoepod@gmail.com. Check us out on our Patreon, patreon.com/joeonjoepod. And also make sure you send a lot of love to our sponsors, the Movies in a Meal podcast. Michael, have you seen any movies this week?
Watched
anything?
I am in pre-production on a movie that I will be shooting in July, so that means I haven't had a lot of free time. So I have not seen any films this week. But
we saw The Bike Riders last night.
Nice.
I enjoyed it as a Chicago kid who grew up around a lot of that atmosphere. It's about a decade before I was born, but same remnants of it. Mm-hmm. It spoke very true. It was I enjoyed it quite a bit. Also enjoying The Boys this year. By the time this airs, that season should be done, but man, is it good.
Yeah. On the animation side, not movies, but shows, I'm very much looking forward to The Caped Crusader. That
cannot wait for that. That is
getting pumped.
Imminently dropping as we're recording this. So, listeners, if you're of the like mind, those are the kind of things that they cover over at Movies in a Mill podcast. So give them a listen, Ben and pals. They're fantastic and help support them. Did you see? So this will be old news by that time, but this week they announced what the San Diego exclusive G.I. Joe Hasbro classified will be.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It's
It's the deepest of deep cuts, that they've really ever done. And
for a classified figure, this is a big one.
And you have to know, I've consistently been to Comic-Con because we don't live that far out here, and but this year, because of this movie that I'm doing, I physically cannot go to any of the days, and so for the first time, I got to figure out how to get this figure. So normally I just go down there.
I actually don't know if it's one per customer, but I'll grab two.
That would be.
I'll grab multiples I'll grab as many as I can, and then we'll figure it out.
I definitely in the past have been standing in line I need to find more people that just need help because getting some of these things.
Well,
because I oftentimes have not filled my quotas, and I'm not a seller or anything. So thank you, and if I can return it in kind.
Totally.
The other thing at Comic-Con so the two things, so there's this amazing action figure, and not to move past it, but the G.I. Joe ash can that they announced. Maybe you haven't seen this.
No, I haven't seen this.
So
let's talk.
Did you see the solicit for the Skybound G.I. Joe #1 that's coming out?
Yes, I did.
November 13th.
I saw that.
So you saw the cover with the patriotic Baroness on it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they're long before November. They're doing an ash can for that issue, similar to how they did an ash can for Duke #1. And,
sure.
And that'll be available at San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know the specific details, but I know there's
Okay.
1,000 copies. It's going to be there.
It's limited.
Limited. It's got a big, star on it, and it's, I think, a foil cover. And,
Okay, well, we're going to try hard to get that one, but I
it was
imagine that'll be tough.
San Diego Comic-Con /eBay /one other online. So we'll see.
That'll be tough,
Yeah,
but we'll try. We'll try.
But it looks cool.
But definitely, I think the Cobra Commander is very doable. I've been blessed. If he hears this, friend of the show, Jeremiah Stafford, he always goes every year, and he's got his like program down. He knows how to get everything. I didn't even understand what this lottery is that they do, how you get points to spend every day. So he was explaining that to me. Do you know about this?
I don't know about the points. I just know about going up to the upstairs sales pavilion, getting in line to get your ticket, to then get back in line. And it's,
something like there's points you can allocate.
Okay.
To get your place in line, and so every day, like as a registered member, you get I don't know, let's say 10 points, and so I really want that, so I'll put all my 10 points on that, so you get higher in the lottery. But I sort of want this, and I sort of want that, and I sort of want that, so you give 2 or 3 points to each of those, and then you fall in wherever you fall to get your time to go pick it up.
Got it.
Something like that kind of lottery, which is sounds like that works.
It's interesting because I actually kind of liked what they did last year. I like that you got a pamphlet and it gave you a code, and then you could just go order it. And
they're doing it. This will be the first year in person since COVID. So I think that's might be why they do that lottery.
Yeah,
because it's more pickup instead of here's a code and leave. It's a little longer of a process of checking you out and that kind of thing. But I'm excited. I can't wait. I figure it looks amazing.
And you're gonna get to see a full-on dragonfly on display, and you're gonna get
life-size dragonfly.
Absolutely.
They're opening up the roof of Hall H, and they're gonna fly one in
from the pages of Action Force to your Hall H.
Oh boy, a dead wild Bill inside. What? Spoiler?
All the good stuff.
Maybe not.
And a hat. Another G.I. Joe HasLab reveal.
Oh yeah. That's exciting.
They've got the primed spot. No, they have nudged Star Wars. How the mighty have fallen. And,
G.I. Joe's on the up, baby. It is on the rise. $3.4 million on that Kickstarter. 3.5?
3.5 plus.
Plus.
Yeah, it's like 3.6, I think.
And am I correct? Is that fulfilling in August?
I thought it was December.
Oh, is it December? Okay, it's end of the year. Okay.
Yeah. It'll be here by Christmas.
Yeah. Well, that's
and they got a lot to do now.
They do.
They more artist commissions for trading cards.
I almost doubled my book for the book. I almost doubled it with just add-ons.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting crazy on the add-ons. I'm just like one of each kind of a thing, and it jumped up to craziness.
I'm not complaining about anything.
No, that's not a complaint. That's awesome.
But that final stretch goal, like when they're like, the final goal, and it was funny because the last set of cards was Bazooka and Globulus, and, I know there's a lot going on with Cobra La and the Energon universe, and obviously this once-a-man Cobra Commander figure, but Globulus never appeared in the Marvel Comics run.
No.
So it's funny that he's part of this specifically issue 1 to 155 compendium, but so that was odd. And then Bazooka, of all things, like the final stretch trading card is Bazooka, and then of course they threw in Zap. But I was thinking a reprint of 155 would have been fun.
Oh, that actually would have made a lot of sense
because they had issue 1, 21, the special, and
those are the big ones.
155 would have been a good way to go out, but. Again,
they were saving that for $4 million.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
$4 million.
No complaints. No, it's amazing.
Well, yeah, I'll say this. I'll put this out as a complaint.
Okay,
this will be a complaint.
Sure,
for
everyone's
you hot-eared listeners. Way too many front runners on those trading cards, man. All you people who voted for Roadblock and Duke, I love those guys. Don't get me wrong. Be very clear here. I love them, but man, do we need more?
Roadblock should have been Road Pig.
Yeah, do we need more pinups of the same photos of the same dudes we've gotten a million pinups of for the last 40 years? Like, do we need this? We don't. I don't think we do.
No, we need Cool Breeze, guys.
We need Cool Breeze.
When else are we going to get
Why
Cool Breeze?
not a Cool Breeze? How about a Tyrone card? How about Justice for Tyrone? Yeah, that was honestly my only reaction to that. After they figured out the whole data mismatch thing, was like, man, like I love those dudes, but this is our opportunity to be like, here's the weirdest set of absolute randoms that no one cares about.
Oh, yeah.
and we get a lot of front runners in those packs.
Yeah,
so.
we closed out with some major bazooka action. We got the 2 bazooka troopers. We got
Yeah.
Bazooka and we got Zap.
Yeah, well, again, just a big close up of his mustache would be amazing. So I love it. Thank you all.
Kind of like this first cover
for
of-
listening. Very much like this first cover of Action Force. So let's talk it. Action Force issue 23.
So this is kicking off. It was the beginning of August, 1987. And once we get into these, I know that you've already covered the annuals on your program, but I will say this: the very first annual is advertised throughout these issues.
Oh, exciting!
And it came out at the end of this month.
Got it.
So basically, we'll go through these issues.
August
and
of
then
'87. I was 12 years old. What were you doing?
I was only 4 years old.
Were you 4? Okay.
I was born in 1983.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So that's why, our references.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you at one point, one of my first action figures was the battle armored Cobra Commander, and like the '88 Snake Eyes.
Sure.
And so that year, I had to play catch up a little bit.
Yeah. So I think I would have been just coming out of 87, 80. Yeah, I would have been getting ready to start 7th grade, which for us was junior high. The way school was back. It's weird. School's like now, like grade school is through 8th grade now, or something, or 6th, 5th through 8th. It used to make so much more sense to me.
Yes, it used to be uniform.
Yeah, it was 6th grade, and then you moved on to mini high school, then you did mini high school, and then you figured it out for 2 years how to like be okay. For the first year, I'm low in the totem pole. Next year, you understand what it's like to be high in the totem. Like that was a smart way to do it because it was a quick social change that you learn how to adjust really quick. And then you go to high school and you're like, well, I better take all those lessons I learned and apply them for the next 4 years. Now they're like, I'm in 4th grade and I'm a junior high kid. I'm like, what? You know, that's nuts.
Yeah, I have a niece that just graduated 4th grade and is going to a new school, and I'm like,
what? Are you? I was actually joking, but really?
No, in all seriousness.
Oh, that's crazy.
So middle school, I guess, starts in the 5th grade.
No, man, middle school, 6th grade. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
you go to 6th grade. That's the way it is. That's the way it should be. So
I don't know, but I can tell you at the right age.
So I was just starting 7th grade.
Yeah,
I still had giant thick glasses. I hadn't gotten contact lenses yet. I was starting to grow though. I was I would top like I would be 6 foot by the time in a year and a half, and so starting to be taller than every other kid. They were like, "You got to play basketball," and I was like, "I've never dribbled a basketball in my life," which led to me to fouling out of every single basketball game in 7th grade. These are the adventures of my life. This is where I was in '87, and I got the Buzzbore. And I got the Battle Armor Cobra Commander that year. I got the Pogo.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed in all of them. All of them.
Well, what can I say?
But you know who I loved? Raptor.
Amazing.
He was a part of that crew.
Yeah.
I loved Raptor. I thought he was great because he was kind of like a Batman villain. So make fun of me all you want. I used Crystal Ball. He would hypnotize people. I didn't know Crystal Ball was a joke until years later.
Yeah. I did not have Crystal Ball Raptor, the real bizarre ones, you know, as a young, like Snake Eyes was awesome. Hit and Run was amazing. Version 2, Storm Shadow. But I was just getting into G.I. Joe at this time, literally, because for my 5th birthday the next year, my brother, so he's 8 years older, so he...
Right.
He was pulling me along.
Yeah.
So he was very much, he had the Ram cycle and the original Colonel Hawk figure with the MMS.
Yeah.
And those were some of his first toys. And so, I have him to thank for really just throwing me into things early. And he gifted me with, it had been out for maybe a year, but the G.I. Joe, the movie, for my 5th birthday in 1988.
Yeah.
And we played that thing to death. And I loved that movie. And
August of '87 would have been when I would have seen it because I think that's when it came out. I know it came out in '87, but I think it was like that's when kind of hit our, because it was never in theaters and so hit the video store. So I probably would have seen it around this.
Yeah, he picked it
up, or
at
least been even made aware of it.
It was a KB Toys like clearance purchase, so he could gift it to me for my birthday in 1988. But from that moment on. So this was like around the time that these were coming out. I was just getting into it.
Okay.
And
Well, had you been living in England, you would have learned a lot about heavy metal and his rich friendships with Trent Lyon, Tony Lander.
Yeah.
Tony
yeah.
Lander.
Yeah, it's true. It's
yeah.
true.
So, well, this cover. So we'll knock this one out, and then we'll jump
Yeah.
to the other ones because this is really a one-off. This cover's great. It's
Drawn by Will Simpson.
Will Simpson, who I knew that name sounded familiar. He did that DC vampire book Vamps. He's worked on a bunch of American stuff over the years. Did a bunch of Judge Dredd stuff. Talented guy, really talented actually. I like the interiors a lot. This cover is
Titled He's Mad.
He's mad. This dude is mad. He looks it's a Cobra Trooper with the mask up, and he's holding a toxic gas canister. Really great close-up on his eyes, really bugged out eyes. 100% reminiscent of like the Scarface adventures in the early issues of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, great like green bubbly poison coming out the top of this thing.
The canister really close up to the camera, so like you get perspective things going on. It's fun. It's a really good cover.
Yeah, I mean he's sweating more than Billy was when he had his failed assassination attempt.
So much sweat. and you got to figure like, why are you sweating? If you're committed to the cause, man, what's there to sweat? Like I'm sweating if you strap me to that toxic canister and I don't want to die. Mm-hmm. That's when I'm sweating. If I'm committed to the cause, what's the sweat?
Yeah,
I don't get it. But no, I'm kidding. It looks great.
And as we learn, he's a character. He's not like new to Cobra, who's uneasy. He's a lifer. He's been in Cobra for a long time, and so this is what a lifetime of being a part of Cobra does to you.
And so we open with, it's called Gas Mask, and mask spelled like the mask of Red Death or the mask from the X-Men with a Q. And there's a guy in a Cobra outfit, but he's not wearing his helmet. He's got a receding hairline, which is great. Mm-hmm. He's breaking into a lab, and we learn immediately he's killed a guy to get into it. A guard. We learn immediately his name is Tony Lander. I feel like this is what we've learned. British comics give full names to every character they can.
Yeah,
we've seen that with like the Trents of the world, where they use the real politicians stuff. His son, like when they introduce a secondary character, they are like, here's Joseph Michael Slepsky.
Yeah,
and he is like, you're never going to meet the guy again. In fact, he might die in this issue, but we're giving him a full biography.
Yeah,
he's from Gloucester.
Mm-hmm.
He likes porridge, and he voted Tory in the last election. I feel like that's the level of detail they go into when they make up these side characters that are about to die.
Yeah, in the stories, and even in between the pages of the stories, the mail calls, there's lots of names and addresses, and I mean, you can find. Yeah, there's just a lot of detail.
It's a privacy nightmare.
Yes,
it's a privacy nightmare. So Tony Lander
takes out not one but two guards.
Takes out two guards. Shoots a scientist right in the chest with a braca.
A woman, for what it's worth. So he's equal opportunity murderer.
He'll kill anyone because he wants to get that toxic vial, and he escapes. So classic opening in the middle of a break-in. Someone steals something. You don't really know what he is, but you shortcut it. He's got the Cobra thing on. I feel like like a longer story, you'd reveal the Cobra later, like he'd be just in a trench coat or something, and later on you'd reveal it. And then boom, straight up cut to the Off-Striker driving down the street, Alpine, heavy metal, Flint, quick kick, no shirt, no shoes, all service, driving down the street, and they immediately know what's up. There's no mystery. We don't have 5 pages.
Yeah,
Mike, we don't have time to screw around here.
That's right. It
is immediately Flint going, hey, heavy metal, your best friend Tony Lander. He's an established character that has gone rogue.
That's right. And it's funny too, because heavy metal is one of the lesser used up until this point Action Force characters.
Blank slate.
But here he is, front and center.
Yeah, and we learned that heavy metal, longtime friends of Tony Lander.
That's right.
Was formerly we went to high school with him, and heavy metal was getting beaten up by some local ruffians with an awesome hat on that dude. See the size of the brim on that hat? You see that? It's amazing. It's like a cartoon within a comic book. And heavy metal's getting beat up, and Tony Lander shows up, and he stops the beat up by just showing up.
Yeah, he's just like
He doesn't. Look at this. He doesn't get involved.
feel his presence.
He doesn't punch anyone. He just steps up, stands in the shadows, and goes, "Leave him alone." And these British dudes are like, "Oh, geez. Well, geez, it's Lander. Nope. It's okay. It's okay, Lander. We're out of here." No.
This totally is a cartoon.
It's Riverdale. And they even got look at the Letterman like vest he's got on. It's totally Riverdale. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating it.
It
It's
is.
fantastic.
By the way, we didn't mention, so James Hill is the writer of this issue, and this is his first foray into Action Force,
Yeah.
and drawn by Brett Ewins.
Yeah, and it's fun. I like the art. I like the write. It is fun. It's I mean, again, you have 5 pages to get into it.
What do you think about this, how they do this floaty head thing, where Heavy Metal's talking and he's recounting the past?
Ooh, it's very comic booky.
Yeah.
Not G.I. Joey.
Yeah,
It's not G.I. Joey.
definitely
I can
not.
see on your face you don't like it.
It's the decapitated floating head,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's
don't know.
I like it for because it's using the language of the medium.
Okay, yeah.
But I agree with you. It's not something we normally see in G.I. Joe. Like
Maybe it's just because there's so much white around it here that it
that is
doesn't-
true. I agree. I've seen it handled more smoothly.
Yeah.
We'll say. Like
It does look like a balloon that's floating in
well,
the
there's a
air.
way to do it. You
Yeah.
you put his head down on the bottom,
Yeah.
and you shift the action to the top right or just more to the side, and then
Yeah.
and then it looks more organic.
I've seen that
So like
before.
he's not floating per se. It's just that the camera's cutting it off at the neck. In this case, he's floating.
Sure.
Versus you put him on the bottom, the camera's doing it, and your head's not.
Implies voiceover without.
Right.
Yeah.
It also has a listeners, if you're following on like the page, there's a weird parallel placement though,
Yeah.
which we say weird, intentional.
Right.
So, what I would read that as the artist putting Heavy Metals in the shoes of Tony Lander.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not that. I mean, essentially, what it seems like is Tony Lander was a mentor / role model for Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal now having no. The thing is, we don't know a lot about Heavy Metal,
Yeah.
so it's not like we can say, "Oh, that's like in." Imagine if this were Last Crusade.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, that's how when he got the whip. That's how when he got the hat. That's how when he learned what to, like we see the morals that he learns from
Right.
this stranger.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of what they're doing. Not that they were aping it, hadn't come out yet, but that style of, I learned this stuff from this guy. That's a little bit what they're doing with that picture.
Sure.
He's in the same, absolutely in the same position as Tony Lander. So that's where he learned to stick up for the little guy.
Yeah.
Problem is we don't know anything about Heavy Metal.
Right.
So we don't know if Heavy Metal he's a Joe, so we assume he's a stick up for a little guy, but who knows? Heavy
Sure.
Metal might be a Jag. Hey guys, it's Heavy Metal. Who invited that Jag bag? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't land, let's just say.
Some of these Action Force, characters, they, they're not all friends.
Right.
We'll see some of that later. but
Yeah, we get some people can be a little chippy.
Flint maybe.
Flint's a little chippy.
Anyway.
So that's cool though. But that's cool. I love it. We've seen that. It didn't well, we definitely, there was a Leatherneck episode. Oh,
It's coming.
Well, the Leatherneck Action Force adventure.
In the annual.
But in
right?
the cartoon, didn't Leatherneck have an old buddy? Or was it Wetsuit? There were a few episodes where there were old buddies that came out of nowhere.
Got it.
And so it's a trope.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. So we go right to it. It's all of a sudden it's nighttime and they're landing in this neighborhood and they get right to it. And there's Tony Lander.
Looking a little more rough around the edges.
Haggard.
That's more than a 5 o'clock shadow.
Haggard. And he is like, I got this toxic bomb. Cobra's terrible. The world's terrible. We're going to end it all. You need help, Tony. I'm not saying you'll ever forget. What did he say? I'm not saying you'll ever forget your experiences as a Cobra Trooper. But maybe with professional counseling, you'll be able to remember some of the good things in life.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that.
So Heavy Metal's playing the negotiator. Meanwhile, we've got Quick Kick and Alpine scaling a wall behind the scenes.
Heavy Metal's playing the I'll keep your attention while my friends assassinate you line. Yeah. So Tony Landers, and what it is he's fed up with all the things he's had to do for Cobra. He's tired of all the things I've seen, the things Cobra's made me do. As this is happening, Alpine scales the building, knocks him out. Quick Kick jumps right, kicks him right in the face, knocks him down. They ask, are you really that anxious to die? Heavy Metal doesn't want to shoot him, but, he's got to save. This toxic canister is going to kill a lot of people. It's not just going to kill those 5 dudes. It's going to kill a lot of people. And so he's got his gun trained on him, and we just see a close-up of the muzzle going, and
So we think Heavy Metal shot his friend.
Now, this is weird, though, because that is a machine gun. We'll just say, I don't know what it is, but it is a machine gun, and it does check with it matches the barrel of Heavy Metal's gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yet.
But it also, does it not match? I think it matches both.
Well, what I'm saying is it doesn't. Oh, the gun that he's carrying?
Yeah.
But here's the problem. He doesn't have a gun on him. It does match the gun that's on the ground.
Right.
Okay. Tony Lander isn't holding that gun in any of these photos. Tony Lander's only holding or about to hold the canister.
Right.
He then gets hit by an electrical bolt.
Oh, got it.
That's what I'm saying.
Got it.
That's a little more like there's electricity hitting around the body. It's like a zap. It's a zap.
Sure.
And it appears to have come from Destro. Now he is holding a smoking gun, so it is obviously they're saying it's Destro. It just doesn't. Their desire to make us think it was Heavy Metal, cheated to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, nitpicking. It's great.
Sure.
Like, I don't mean this as a complaint, but it just all doesn't match up.
Yeah, it's not. It's visually, it's not the strongest composition,
but it's fun. So what it is they apparently didn't hear 2 giant Fang helicopters hovering overhead. Good, are they stealth now? That's weird. Destro and some random Crimson Guards are hovering overhead, and Destro shoots Lander, which is great because I don't know. I mean, that's what Destro is all about. He was a mad dog who had to be put down, and although it appears you found such tasks loathsome, I didn't. Oh, and don't try anything foolish. A true warrior knows when and when not to fight. Besides, if our positions were reversed, I'd look at what I did today as a personal favor with a U. So Heavy Metal's going to get his revenge next time he sees Destro.
The Fangs must have been in silent mode because for Destro to have that conversation, from the air.
Yeah.
And,
There's a lot.
They can hear him perfectly.
There's a lot. Yeah.
But that's it. There's no continuation to this story.
No.
Destro has ended another life. Lots of casualties in this.
Lots of dead people.
These 5 pages.
Soldiers, scientists, Tony Landers.
That's right.
Friendships are dead.
The world is hard.
And it's the Chekhov's toxic canister. We never got to see the toxic canister used.
I know, except on the cover.
Well, it seems to be leaking on the cover. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So it's fun though. It's great. And if I were reading this, that was my dose of G.I. Joe Weekly, Action Force Weekly, that'd be amazing.
It is great.
It is amazing. Great, really great, strong characterizations. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's the best thing about this stuff is when they make choices to give these guys personalities. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, guess what? Heavy Metal's got a buddy. His buddy was a bully stopper. Now the bully, now he's been bullied and he's at his breaking point. And how can Heavy Metal help? Oh, Destro shoots him and flies away.
It's great.
Story.
Short, sweet.
Sweet.
I will mention, I won't read any letters, but I noted that in reading the mail call page from this issue, there were a number of letters from Americans. So it seems like the fandom in the United States was going up a bit, including one in California.
A little bit, the Princess Diary fan page.
Yeah, yeah, and one reader wrote in and just asked, where can I get more of these Action Force comics? I found a couple, back issues and basically Marvel UK wrote back and said Mile High Comics will be dealing Action Force comics. So
awesome.
I guess they
were still doing it today. Still going strong today. So Mile High is great.
Yeah.
All right. So we're moving on to the next issue. So the next issue actually is an issue of their Transformers. Transformers was weekly or monthly?
It was also weekly. And why are we going into the Transformers universe? Because for the first time ever, as we mentioned, we've got some crossover. So this is the first Transformers issue that says, and now, Action Force. So, and in the upper left, where you normally have, either Flint or Destro, we've got special crossover. Oddly, looks like the Mattel logo, but
It really does. Yeah. The Sunburst logo, yeah, totally.
but yeah, same price. And for all those Transformers listeners, they got all the way to, this is issue number 125.
Whoa!
So
That's 2 years.
Yeah,
solid 2 years.
and so
2.5.
So the cover artist here is Jeff Anderson, and he's been writing or drawing for Transformers for a lot of the run, and the writers Simon Furman and penciler Jeff Senior. So this Transformers issue, and then the next 4 Action Force issues are all written and drawn.
The interiors, Jeff Senior.
Jeff Senior did the interiors, yeah, and Simon Furman wrote.
And who did the covers?
Jeff Anderson did
Jeff
all
Anderson
these
did the
covers,
covers,
and he's very busy working on the Transformers.
Well, they're solid, man. So we've got that's Blades, the Transformer Blades, who was part of the Protecticons. He was the helicopter. He's walking through a sewer tunnel, Les Mis style, with Flint and Barbecue and Scarlet, who's visiting from America, Bazooka, who's visiting from a trading card, and Airtight,
whose accessory is being used clearly as a projectile weapon.
Which
it's a choice.
I love with Transformers comics. Well, neither of us, I think, are Transformers fans, so we'll muddle through. Transformers experts. I am a fan. Transformers experts. So we'll muddle through with as much as we know here. I do believe this is the era where the head Dinobot, Grimlock was leading the Autobots, because I think, especially at A7, they had killed Optimus Prime.
Yep.
He was off stage, and also Grimlock was not the dumb Grimlock that we know from the cartoon. It's not me, Grimlock, you sludge. It is just, he's nasty.
Yeah.
That's the personality. I've read those American books. He's nasty, or he's not. It's not that he's dumb. It's just he's vicious, where Optimus is Optimus.
Yeah, he doesn't really care about humans.
Yeah, so that's kind of what's happening here. But what I was going to say is, I love in Transformer books in general, or it won't say any books, but Transformers, it happens a lot because their regular scale is when they show up to do something. The doorways always have to be big enough to allow a Transformer to walk through. I think that's absolutely hilarious. So like in this case, it is a gigantic sewer system underneath England that needs to accommodate a walking helicopter. I think that's absolutely fabulous. Let's see. Everyone's shooting. They're all up close. Flint's cheering everyone on. Barbecue is burning him. Scarlet, I don't think we ever really get an explanation for why Scarlet is visiting. She's just there, but she's great. Her shot is going right through his leg, which is awesome. No, I mean, not awesome. They're attacking, it's that classic, we don't know who you are, so we're going to shoot you story.
This is the Transformers artist coming over to draw Action Force covers. Mm-hmm. Not my favorite. Look at Flint,
Flint's face is weird.
Yeah.
It's not handsome. I would say that. It's not handsome. Flint's always handsome. He's not very handsome. He's very pugnacious in this picture.
Yeah.
But as far as the body work, I like it.
Okay.
I think there's a level of detail that I dig there.
I've always
an earthiness to it.
Sort of heard, some artists are very good at drawing mechanical robots, that sort of thing. Others are much more better with organic individuals, and never shall the two quite.
I think you're correct.
Mesh?
I do think you're correct.
I think that's a little bit of what's going on.
There's definitely some do better than others.
Flint just feels a bit more like a artificial, creation. Like if he was a symbiote or a
the best example is and it's fun, and this is not a knock, but the current Transformers, the Danny Warren Johnson Transformers.
Yeah, he's
a very organic artist.
Mm-hmm.
Those robots don't look like robots. They look like giant metallic-ish monsters. They don't look like a car that came to life. it's great and fun and energetic, and I actually enjoy them quite a bit. But yeah, they don't look like. But then you look at some of the sleekness, the sleek Transformers artists that they've used over the years, like at IDW, and those look like real machines who are really coming to life. So yeah, I agree with you. I do agree. It's rare to find someone that could do both. Is the answer, I think.
Any instances of them like co-drawing something, like this
Oh,
artist does the robots?
what?
And I thought I heard.
I think there was someone. Yes, I do think there was someone. They did something where they. Oh, this is struck in a memory. I thought there was something where someone drew the Transformers and someone drew the G.I. Joes.
To me, that makes a lot of sense.
All
Just given how it.
Yeah.
You know. I can't think of what. Yeah.
That sounds really familiar, like from back in the day, like maybe in the Devil's Due era, where they did that, and they did have an artist, like the regular Transformer artist, do the Transformer stuff.
Yeah, maybe I was listening to a Josh Blaylock interview and he mentioned something. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's cool, and those projects are always fun too, because then you just get a neat mesh of different styles,
Right.
And not just the way they render it, but the way they visualize a page and visualize an image is always neat to see. I like seeing like combinations of artistic styles.
Yeah.
Like that, you know.
Yeah. I will say for Action Force fans, if you didn't pick up this Transformers issue, they sort of tell the story, but then they kind of recount it in the next Action Force issue. So this isn't essential. So if you have a full run of Action Force Weekly and you don't have this Transformers issue 125, you're not missing anything major.
But I'll say this: if you've gone to the effort of putting a full run together and you don't have this issue, shame on you.
That's right.
Get it. You've gone to all the trouble of getting all these, with 52 or 50 issues 50 issues of G.I. Joe Action Force Weekly.
Yeah.
You can go out of your way and find this issue. It's findable.
That's why I have this.
I'm going to go on the other side of that fence.
There you go.
If you've done that work, finish the race, because it's fun. But you are 100% correct, which is funny because this is a full adventure. Like this is a full issue of their, however many pages. I don't think it's a full 22, but 20 maybe 20. Yeah. And yet in the 5 pagers, they still need to recap the 20 page. You know what I mean? They find room in the 5 pagers to recap it.
Yeah.
And that's, as far as storytelling compression, that's crazy. So it's a fun cover.
And I should mention, just talking page counts. So the story in this is 11 pages.
Oh, it's 11 pages. Got it.
In this, and in Action Force, it's back to the regular 5.
Yeah, right.
Did
they have in that Transformers book? Did they have a backup, like the Action Force? Is it a Transformers backup or what is it?
No, so they called it the Iron Man of 2020, but that was a reprint from 1986 of the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 20.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, which is Iron Man 2020.
Yeah,
Arno Stark.
Yeah,
I can picture the cover right now. It's got a green electronic printed background.
And we haven't mentioned the other thing they have is just by Lou Stringer, another comedic. They had Robo Capers. It was just a little,
silly. Oh, those silly rascals.
Yeah, but I just wanted to mention real quick. So Action Force Monthly eventually replaced Action Force Weekly. When Action Force Weekly came to an end, there was some downtime, and then the following spring, Action Force Monthly came out. This story in Transformers number 125 and the stories we're going to talk about going forward were the beginning of Action Force Monthly. So these 11 pages, that was reprinted in Action Force Monthly 1 and 2.
Oh, okay, great. So if you have those, you have these stories.
You'll recognize. Yeah.
Did they, just jumping ahead there, because I don't know this answer, did they eventually do original stories for Action Force Monthly, or were they all reprints?
Yes, but obviously to kick it off,
took them a good year.
They went back and they said, these stories must have been well received, and so they sort of reprinted them to kick things off.
Yeah.
But yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then we go to the cover for Action Force 24.
Yep.
Is Bazooka, Wild Bill, Scarlet, Flint, their floating heads over a giant close-up of a battle-damaged Megatron. I'm here for that. It also says versus Megatron on it. I'm here for that. There's a free poster inside.
You get the special Transformers crossover banner across the top.
Do you remember what the poster is?
Yeah, so I've actually got So they had these TAC pages, the Technical Arms Compendium. What they decided, because they were popular for the kids to be able to take posters out and put them on their wall. So a mashup. So it's a TAC page poster supplement. And so in this case, and we can take a look at it, it is the Dragonfly.
Okay, cool.
And
That's great.
So yeah, you could put a big dragonfly on your wall, and it shows you all the bits and bobs. And,
I love it. I love it. And G.I. Joe doesn't do a lot of floating head covers. We were talking about earlier. We were talking about floating heads. G.I. Joe doesn't do that. We call this. I always refer to this as a representational cover versus a literal. And G.I. Joe really doesn't do a lot of them. So I like when we see them.
Yeah. Next cover is a bit more
cover,
literal.
A lot more literal.
Action Force number 25. One of my favorites, Wild Bill.
Falling to his death. And what I love about, now if you read the comic, and we'll talk about it, what's happening is he's jumping out of a dragonfly and he's about to get rescued by Blades the Autobot. But if you don't know that, what you might see is either he could have burned to death, he could fall to death, or he can get chopped up in the rotors to death. It's stories called 3 Ways for Wild Bill to Die.
In either case, the title, he's going down.
Going down.
Yeah,
that's good. That's fun. And they include his hat, which is flying off because he's falling in midair. But they include the hat to make sure you know that's Wild Bill. That's really good. The next issue,
hang on, this one, 26.
26 is pretty cool. Let's talk about heavy metal. It's a giant. We don't know. It's Megatron's hand, but you don't exactly know who. But it's a giant robot hand holding a Mauler tank in it and crushing it. And it just gives you the sense of scale and size, and you see what heavy metal who's jumping out of the tank is up against. That's fun.
It's fun. And this tank, I mean, it's like being splintered, almost like a piece of wood would be, shards going everywhere. I mean, it's super, destructive.
Yeah, that also speaks to the scale issue.
And I love the title, Mauled.
Mauled, yep. Of, like, if his hand is really that big, then we know Megatron does mass shifting. We know this because he's a gun and then he's a giant robot. But if his hand is that big, that tank is roughly supposed to be the size of Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Optimus doesn't do mass shifting. I mean, a little bit, I guess. But for the most part, Optimus is a big truck that turns into a big robot roughly of the same size.
Yeah.
If Optimus's hand was that big, his truck would be the size of a house.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. It's awesome, don't get me wrong, but think about the scale of how, he would have to be, who that would be though? No, you know what that would be? That would be if this were Devastator's hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
If this were a Constructicon, one of the combiners, then you absolutely would have a hand this big.
Yeah.
But it ain't.
Nope.
It's Megatron.
It's Megatron.
He's huge.
And heavy metal's escaping here, but you feel bad for there's 2 other crew members in the smaller, technically, or at least one. And there's a finger going right into someone's eye.
We got dead green shirts, everybody.
We do. There's another ad on the upper left of this, again, where you'd have Flint or Destro normally. Free poster inside, and this is another one of those Tactical Arms Compendium posters of the Mauler.
The Mauler.
Yeah.
Broken or splintered or in one piece.
Still in one piece prior to this event.
And then the final cover for this big crossover is called Doom Watch for Action Force 27. It's Flint, Scarlet, Wild Bill on the cover. I see what you're saying. I agree with you here on the character models for. It's not so much the character model. It's more the rendering of these guys. Like Flint looks weird.
Yeah.
The robot looks great.
Oh yeah.
And that's Blades. The
Blades
robot
again.
looks great. Yeah. So it's Blades. Again, there's a wall of fire behind them, and they're all looking at the same problem, whatever that problem may be. So that puts them on the same side. So which is cool. It's a way to show that they've partnered with the Autobots on this cover. Whatever else is going on, you may not know. But that's saying they're on the same side. They're also showing their back to him, so they trust him, so they're not enemies. Versus you go back to that first cover, they're facing, obviously they're shooting him. Yeah. That's a big tell. But they're also facing him. You know what I mean? You could see the actual damage. This is one of the classic ways you put the enemy off camera, and you have them all look at the same thing, and then you know that they're on the same side.
So are you the reader, the enemy?
Always. If I'm gonna nitpick about the size of Megatron's hand, I think I am.
Title of this last cover: Doom Watch.
Doom Watch.
And I will say, I love all these not all. Most of these covers have their own title, and then the story has yet another title.
And the story is called Ancient Relics. We're gonna get into it.
Yeah, 5-parter.
5-parter. It's a big one. So we open in London. These are those giant sewers.
Yeah, so the underground of London they're describing, but
London underground.
This is the ancient Roman construction.
Oh, right, that's
predating.
Yeah, because the Romans were 18 feet tall.
Yeah,
it's so big.
Yeah, they too had Transformers.
Yes. Well, in the Michael Bay movies, I think they did.
Sure.
Didn't they? They went all the way back to Excalibur and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a scientist, Miss Hoffman. She and these other dudes are like underground checking out these ancient relics. They're examining the Roman architecture, and they hear a chonk coming out of a shadowy corner. And this guy goes, well, that's a weird sound. Like, why is there metallic stuff down here? And he looks and he sees it's Megatron's foot. But we also see that it's also janked up. And they all look up in a great reaction shot where, like the camera is way up high, and they pan their eyes up, and it's the horrifying, scarred up, destroyed face of Megatron. Now, they did this a lot in the Michael Bay movies too. And the more I read of these Transformers stories is the more I see that Megatron spent a lot of time all jacked up. Like my Megatron was always cartoon. So he was always looking like normal Megatron. You know what I mean? Like, just like Megatron, it's like a regular robot.
Yeah.
But when you read all these stories, they did a lot with him being jacked up, like having beat up faces, and which is essentially what he spends a majority of those Bay movies.
Yeah.
Really screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Like really does.
Mm-hmm.
And that always sat wrong with me as primarily a cartoon guy, because I was always like, this is Megatron. He's got a face, and I was like, it was neat, and it was neat to show that this guy never really got it together in the movies. But now, as we read this, and I read more of the actual comics over the years, like, oh no, he spent a lot of time being screwed up.
Yeah,
it's really, so I like it. That's
more messed up than not.
No, yeah, than not, absolutely. So he attacks these people. The 3 dudes that were with this Hoffman lady, they die. They get crushed by rubble. And she escapes. Meanwhile, in Oregon, USA, which is now the tie into the U.S. Transformer comics, we're at the Ark that's in that big mountain. And we see that it's Grimlock talking to
Wheeljack,
who I believe, he was their engineer. And they're working on this, speaking of ancient Rome, this ancient relic guy. Centurion. Now, he looks very much... Are you familiar with Death's Head?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a real Death's Head vibe to him.
Sure.
So I feel like that's a Marvel UK kind of look that they were bringing to the Transformers. But they keep talking about Goldbug and Blaster being lost. That's got to be a tie-in to what was going on in the U.S. comics roughly at the time.
Yeah, so there's a number of kind of stories that they were referencing, but basically with Grimlock taking over, for Optimus, those two kind of were fed up with Grimlock's take.
And who wouldn't be?
Right.
Grimlock's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's a real jerk. But they send Blades over to see what's going on, because there's an energy source pings when Megatron wakes up, so they think that it's Blades, or I'm sorry, they think that it's Goldbug, and who did we just say? Blaster and Goldbug. By the way, Goldbug was Bumblebee revamped when they revamped his toy, so they thought they'd make him Goldbug and people will like him better. Then at some point in the course of things, they realized everyone liked Bumblebee. Goldbug was stupid, so he went back to being Bumblebee. I'm sure Matt Kyle would slap me for that brief, probably incorrect explanation of it. I'm sure my cousin Alicia would also slap me for that, who's a massive trainer. They know all this stuff. It's amazing. But that's kind of my understanding of it. They were giving him an updo. He became Goldbug for a little bit, and people were like, "Hey, Bumblebee was pretty great," and so they went back to Bumblebee. So they Megatron waking up, they think it's their guys, so they send Blades over to London to check it out. And we see that Blades also is not very amenable to
Grimlock's leadership.
Yeah.
He's thinking Goldbug and Blaster might be onto something.
Yeah.
Maybe I might join them, he says.
Yeah.
By the end.
Grimlock's got us, we should be fighting Decepticons, but Grimlock's got us hunting down our fellow Autobots. Why don't we just let those dudes do what they do?
Let them Autobot.
Yeah. I like it. So that sets up Blades that puts him in London. So then we were able to then, storytelling wise, just cut to back to the sewers, and here we go with Action Force. I love this. They don't spend a lot of time. They don't like have her like knock on the door to Action Force headquarters, or like it's just straight up. You're in the sewers. There's Flint, Scarlet's visiting, Bazooka, Barbecue, Airtight. We're on it. Mission up, baby.
That's right. One woman that survived is leading them through the sewer.
Yeah, and Scarlet is not happy about this. We're grubbing around in a stinking Roman sewer looking for some fictional monster, all because this little ... lady. Feel like Scarlet's insinuating something there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's angry, man.
Yeah. She's not happy. So they go searching, and here they see what they think is the quote-unquote monster that they encountered earlier, but it's really Blades. Mm-hmm. And Blades is also upset about being tromping around in old sewers.
He's not happy about the water.
Water.
He's very rust averse.
Rust averse, which is great because he's a helicopter.
Yeah.
So he's probably averse to ground, water, land, like that whole thing. Like, he likes to fly. He doesn't want to be underground. I really like that. And it just kicks off with Bazooka launching a missile right at his face. The Joes don't hestate, or Joe's Action Force doesn't hesitate. A wildly staggered Action Force attack, and everyone's shooting. He's really getting stung up.
Not happy.
He shoots at them. It kind of blinds everybody. And Scarlet just wants one clean shot.
She's shooting blind, by the way.
Yeah.
There, she's just like firing away.
Yeah, if I'm gonna die from a giant robotic helicopter. This is cool. This is straight out of Planet of the Apes. Grimlock always did say the only good human is a dead human. And you know something? I agree with him. So I like Blades is kind of like, no. Nope. But meanwhile, in the shadows, Megatron's arm is leveling his blaster. And Blades comes to his senses. And he's like, wait a minute. You guys I'm a good guy. Like, we're not. Chill out, guys. Like, Autobots were sworn to protect human life. What about the others you attacked, or don't they count? And before they could even kind of figure that out, the lady Hoffman realizes that this kind of doesn't look like that other dude. Like, she's got robot blindness apparently.
Yeah.
And while that happens, he does get ambushed, and here we come with Megatron, scarred face and all. He comes out of the shadows. The name Fleshling is Megatron, and he is huge. Like, he's massive. So his scale is to the scale of picking up that mauler. So we get we end the Transformers issue with them about to throw down.
Yeah. And that takes us into Action Force number 24. Just real quick, and we'll continue the Transformers story. Just at the very beginning, it's interesting how Major Blood had appeared in the Action Force comics, but we didn't really know much of his backstory. So they take a paragraph at the beginning of this issue just to give you his story so that you understand a little bit more about what Major Blood is about.
Why?
It's because of the reprint. G.I. Joe
because
content.
The reprint. God, I'm like, he's not in this.
But right. But he is in. He's in the other story.
What's the reprint?
So it's the assassination plot line. Cobra Commander Billy. Major
sure.
Blood putting Billy up to.
Got it.
But anyway, I just wanted to make mention that it was an instance where they had a character from the U.S. reprints that they hadn't really
Dealt
done a
with.
story for,
Yeah.
and so readers were confused who this was, and so they're like, we're just going to give you an info dump.
Could the Action Force editors be the best editors in comics?
They're great.
They might be.
They're great, and there's a couple examples of where a reader in a mail call will ask for something, and then instantly, boom, there it is. They don't even have to wait the week because they've already.
They might be the best editors in comics.
So-
I mean that in all sincerity. They're so on point with organizing this stuff and making sure that their readers understand who's in what reprint stories and this issue features this, so we're going to do a battle tactical map for it, and like whatever the feature is, they make sure there's no questions remaining when you're
Yeah.
done with a book. That's really, really great.
Yeah, so we haven't really mentioned him much, but Richard Starkings is the editor of all of these.
Oh,
And
Comic Craft. Yeah, that's funny. I've met him. Affable British chap.
yeah,
An amazing letterer.
Yeah.
I mean, he sells. He was one of the first people to sell his lettering style as a digital font.
mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah,
and he also
and-
does the elephant. What's it? Hip Flask. The comic book. Oh, that's great. I didn't realize Richard Starkings was the editor of
Yeah,
this.
on all of these books that we've covered.
Oh, well.
And his assistant editor is Steve White to give
That makes sense though. Richard Starkings is great.
Yeah.
Like he's a real talent. I didn't actually realize that. He's a real talent. And that's most of this reason is the way I'm reading these, they don't have the creators credited. Although on the Transformers one, that was the first one that within the page, the creators were on the page, I noticed.
It's the reason this mission control that I referenced, that's where you see the editor's names.
Right. But within the store, within the actual like
Pages of the
US
story.
style on the Transformers one, they do credit all the creators. They don't credit editors, but they do credit creators. But then when we get to the Action Force stuff, that drops off. They still don't do it for the Action Force story.
The only other thing I wanted to mention, because they've teased it many times for Action Force readers, there's a fan club coming. Oh, wait, we don't know what's going on. They finally, in this issue, give you information. And so I just wanted to share this with you, how to sign up for the Action Force fan club.
Live the adventure. Sign up now and join the Action Force team of international heroes fighting evil and terrorism across the globe. I like that they're different. Evil is different from terrorism.
That's right.
And help you fight the Cobra enemy, we have developed a brand new club pack. It all shows up in a strong Action Force PVC wallet. Only $3
Pound sterling.
£3 sterling and 95.
Yeah, almost £4 sterling.
Yeah, you get a welcome letter from Flint, your Action Force membership card, your own service record book for entering your personal details for future awards, an adventure game book and game app, which used together will develop your personal tactical skills. An Action Force audio cassette, which contains an exciting adventure story. That's fun.
I would love to find that, and I have had very little success in locating.
Ooh.
If anyone out there knows where we can find a copy of this
Yeah.
recording from the Action Force fan club, the cassette, the adventure, I would love to hear it.
That's great. An Action Force decoder card, which allows you to read all the future coded messages from headquarters, and 2 very top secret message pens with notepads. I imagine those are remember those invisible ink pens
Yes,
that they used to do? That's probably what they are.
100%. So, Joe, if you want to,
you
I can
include this?
I can give you £5 sterling, and we can mail
yeah.
away. The one thing.
Oh no, they're not on the euro anymore, right? Or are they, because they dropped out of the European? Are they on the euro now?
No, they're still,
They're still on the euro?
England is still not the euro.
They're not.
They're not
right,
part of the
they're not-
European
they're-
Union.
Yeah,
they
dropped
were
out.
they were in the European
Brexit.
Union, but they didn't change their currency.
Oh, they never changed their currency.
and now they're out of the European Union.
Well, I got to get my parent or guardian to sign this if I'm under 16.
But it is a different address than the Marvel UK office, because they specifically note, and this is funny to me because I can tell that the editor, this is something that he had to deal with, that he wanted to get off his plate as soon as possible. Because they note here, they say, so here's the info on how to sign up for the Action Force fan club. But then here in Mission Control, they say, but please note that you should not contact us here at Marvel with regard to any matters relating to the club. So here you go. Have fun. We want nothing to do with this.
That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Back to our
So
story.
yeah, back to the story. I'll tell you what Action Force doesn't want to have anything to do with is Megatron, because this picture of them fleeing the scene is awesome. It is picture like a worm's eye view. There's a doorway that they're all running out of, a blackened, behind it is darkened and shadowy, you can't see, but it's all the Joes and this Hoffman scientist completely running, arms flailing, absolutely heading towards the camera. And then the next is a half page wide shot of Megatron.
The camera's basically tilted up now.
Yeah. So it's like the
Bursting
camera
through the
camera
archway.
stayed exactly where it was, but it just pointed upwards.
Yep.
And you see the scale of this giant robot coming through the archway, chasing after them. That's a really great. That's great storytelling. It's a wonderful shot. And they are, when I say running, their legs are
Full extension.
full extension. That's what, you know what I mean? Like that's,
Hyper extended.
yeah,
as they
that's a great way to show
fly
how frantic these people are. It's really smart. It's a wonderful way to show how frantic these guys are to get away from this three-story tall at least robot.
Yeah. By the way, we looked at the cover where it was just, Megatron's face and Action Force versus Megatron and then the floating heads. That panel would have made a much more interesting cover.
Oh yeah, would have been
Megatron
absolutely.
just lunging towards us.
Absolutely would have been. It would have been hard though, honestly. Nitpick it because it's a more vertical, or it's a horizontal shot versus a vertical cover.
Yep, and it's not widescreen.
Yeah, it would have been hard. But I agree with you. Even crop that like at the shoulders, that still would have been an amazing. Yeah. And
it is weird. We've seen a few examples where there is artwork that actually is turned on a comic cover.
Oh yeah.
But it's always weird.
Yeah. So then the next page we get a very brief couple panel recap of what's happening, and as they climb out of these sewers, we see that in the last issue, Blades got shot up by Megatron. And as the Joes Action Force emerges from the sewers, they're confronted with giant Grimlock and Centurion.
I love the arms.
Yeah.
Like what I'm going to call alligator arms.
So
like
good.
Outstretched.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not scary enough being a giant robot dinosaur. I'm also going to put my arms up in that scary boo.
That do not extend beyond his teeth.
Oh, yeah. Definitely don't extend past his nose. He's like, oh, I'm going to scare you, humans. It's wonderful acting. It's wonderful pencil acting. It's really great.
By the way, I am not a huge Transformers person as far as my background, and Grimlock is very basic and simple, and I don't know if you love the Dinobots, more power to you, but Centurion, who is more of a minor character by a lot, I think he looks awesome.
He looks great, but the reason is because he's Dinobot is modeled after the toy, and the toys are smoother. There's not as many ridges and various things. So the Centurion's built just for the comic page, so they can get away with making it look like. He's got shades of Simonson's Manhunter on him. Definitely Death's Head is a huge influence on it.
I love this spiked.
There's
shoulder pauldron.
You couldn't do that on toys back then. Now you can.
Sure.
But back then it was smooth because they were also, remember you don't remember because you were a child. They were trying to make it like they were real dinosaurs. Like not robot dinosaurs, like they were, So it's really toy accurate, and they were very simple. The chest popped open to the side, and the head flipped over, and the legs, the tail flipped up. Like it was pretty basic. Have you tried to transform a transformer today, like the G.I. Joe Transformer ones?
The Thunder Machine one.
I need instructions now.
Yeah, it was.
I used to be able to figure it out.
It took a while.
They're really complex now. It's a huge compliment because it's really smart engineering, but they used to be a lot easier when I was a kid. Like Optimus's transformation, super easy, really great, super easy. Not anymore. They're wildly delicate.
we had a few Transformers growing up because my brother obviously had them, but thank you for the education.
Oh, they were very hard. I did have a full Constructicon set. Those are pretty cool. I was always making Devastator.
We had Soundwave, and so I was always playing with the cassettes. And,
cassettes are the best. So we see that Grimlock and Centurion showed up because Blades led them to believe that he located a Transformer life signal here, but all they're seeing are these humans. But then very quickly, Megatron bursts out of the ground and is like, "I'm gonna get you, fleshlings." What? Autobots? And so he thinks they were hunting him. You know, it's one of those, no one's really hunting anyone, but as long as we're here, let's get a rumble. And that's what we do. He attacks Grimlock. I keep wanting to say Dinobot because he actually calls them Dinobot because they are Dinobots, but they keep attacking Grimlock, and Grimlock is, you know, fighting back. It's a very kaiju fight. I don't know if that was on their minds for this. Like, if you're drawing this today, kaiju and Godzilla is really, really in the atmosphere, I'd say, for, you know, like, it's a thing. Like, it's more of a thing. The fact that we know the word kaiju. Yeah. Back then, that existed. We didn't know it here in America. I don't know if they knew it in England. Obviously, Godzilla movies, you know, it was a thing. Yeah. But I don't know that they're playing it up here. But I'm seeing it here. Sure. And I love it. Yeah, yeah. Because you get this giant. Oh, well, you know, like Spectre Man. Yeah. At the time, he used to fight these dudes, and that was yeah. So yeah, you're getting that vibe. Very cool. Scarlett's pointing out they're going to tear up central London. We've got to stop them. Meanwhile, Flint's like, "Hey, chill out, okay?" Wild Bill's on his way, and he's going to blow them to hell.
He's not messing around.
No, he's not. So Wild Bill shows up with a fleet of dragonflies. We really don't know who's flying the other ones, but we see these robots. As soon as you're in range, fire at will. He does. Megatron retaliates, and as far as we know, he only hits Wild Bill's dragonfly. Yep. But he really smacks it.
Oh, he takes the main rotor.
Gone.
Right off.
Gone.
Completely.
Gone, which is good because then that allows Wild Bill to escape without getting cut in pieces, which is always helpful.
If he can get out. Yeah. He's dropping like a rock now.
Right, dropping like a rock. And that's how that issue ends, with Wild Bill falling out of the sky.
Yeah, yeah. You know how I like a little bit of mail call before we move on, and I just wanted to mention, essentially, you know, there's a request to make more room in. So remember how I said I liked the artwork, I liked the airplane, I liked the letters and all of that. Well, literally, one of the readers says they don't like it because they're basically saying, on to mail call, get rid of that plane. It's a good drawing, but it's such a waste of space. You could print more letters and include this one. And it's funny because the editor responds and says, well, here you go. And in the same issue that is printed, they've shrunken the size of the mail call plane, and they've accommodated instantly.
Richard Starkings is the king.
The man.
The king.
The man. And the other thing, just for a little bit of comedy, this is funny. The shortest letter I've read, but Dear Mail Call, please could you tell me what Lady J's gun does? This is from Christopher Missenden of Hertz. And the answer about what does Lady J's gun do is it goes bang when you pull the trigger. I love it. I love it. It's like...
Well, yes, you asked, man, and there's your answer. It shoots people. That's what it does.
There's your answer.
You know what? The lesson there is be precise.
And this is kind of cool. For the first time ever, again, this wouldn't happen today, but they introduce on the mail call page an action trade section. So this is where you as a reader could write in and say, look, this is what I'm looking for, and this is what I have. And I'm going to offer to trade this figure, this Action Force figure, for that. And they give you, again...
That's really cool.
The name and address so that you can contact...
Holy cow. Do we write these guys letters?
I mean... You could at least ask, did you ever... Yeah. Did that trade ever go through?
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
So
I have so much... I have so much correspondence I need to do here.
Sure.
I have so much correspondence I need to do
here. Yeah. I just... full-time job and overtime. But, for example, wanted Snake Eyes and Flint with weapons. I'll swap Zartan and Swamp Skier with weapons. Contact Chris Parker.
I have a friend who's over in England and Scotland right now, literally right now as we record this.
Oh, okay.
And on vacation. I should type these letters up, email them to him, and just say, dude, drop these in the post. It'll probably save me $50 in mail.
oh, yeah, absolutely. So,
well, that's great. So the next issue opens up with it's not so much which I like this a lot. It's not so much a recap of what we've seen, although certainly there is some of that. It's more of a recap of what we didn't see, which is as the Joes erupted from the sewers, what happened to Blades? And Blades came out of the water.
mm-hmm.
So we again see that he dislikes water. He remembers that the Joes attacked him, and then that Megatron showed up and hit him in the back. This is the best kind of flashback. It really is. It's the flashback from the perspective that we weren't following,
Right?
Because it always adds more. And you could just retell exactly what we saw, but you could also give us a little bit more information, which is what they're doing here, and I appreciate that a lot. We get to the second page. It's Ancient Relics Part 3. We get a fun splash page with Megatron shooting at the other dragonflies while wrestling Grimlock, with Centurion leaping into the fray. Wild Bill's dragonfly is exploding and falling to the ground, and Blades is just emerging from the River Thames to witness all this stuff. Like there's so much going on in this picture. The only thing missing, and isn't a knock, is like if you were to draw the Joes somewhere really tiny in the background,
The Action Force.
they're the Action Force. Yeah, if you were to draw them in the background, that would be the only element of this that you're then not like, I've now set the table literally for every player in this game of where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And at that scale, I understand why you wouldn't really achieve much, because they would just be dots, because of the scale of all the monsters involved and things like that. So we see Blades sees what's happening with the dragonfly. He transforms into his helicopter form, and he goes to save Wild Bill. So we think he's going to save Wild Bill. We hope he's going to save Wild Bill. Wild Bill leaps out of his dragonfly. Blades yells, "Hey, human, jump." I will never understand, it happens in cartoons all the time, how a helicopter can rescue anyone falling from the sky.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't buy it. I never bought it as a kid. I don't buy it now as an adult.
And we thought Alpine's physics were incredible at the Eiffel Tower. And then was it Quick Kick we were talking about? This, I think, takes the cake for the most acrobatic.
It is.
Impressive.
Wild Bill.
Defying
now,
of all physics and gravity.
What must have happened is as Blades got there, picture Blades flying regular, to the ground, like horizontal with the ground. As he reached where Wild Bill was falling, he must have flipped to the side, rolled to the side. Wild Bill then grabbed his skid and whooped himself. How you could do it, I have no idea. Wild Bill's not he's not a ninja. He's not,
I think he is now.
He is now. So Wild Bill grabs the skid, and then so what the image we see then, it must be the right after that, where he then reverted to being normal. Yeah. Otherwise, Wild Bill's dead.
Yeah.
Were I doing this live action, what happens is as Blades gets closer, an arm transforms out and grabs Wild Bill. That's what happens. That's how I tell this adventure.
Makes
as
sense.
he goes, he half transforms, grabs Bill out of the sky, and then transforms him back in. But I get it. Meanwhile, there's a giant explosion, and we do see that Bill is hanging onto the skid while his helicopter, or the Dragonfly, crashes, but the Joes just think he's straight up dead.
Yeah.
So you got a burned up Dragonfly. They're all in there. Flint's yelling no, which is making him very angry. And he wasn't just another soldier, Scarlet. He's another name for the Action Force Memorial. He was a friend, you understand? A friend. He calls the Maulers in. 3 Dragonflies aren't enough. We're calling in 3 Maulers.
Heavy Metal, get over here.
Yeah, I don't know who's driving the other ones, but Heavy Metal's in the lead. And we get the Kaiju fight is still going on. It's a pretty good wrestling match. It looks pretty great. The Maulers show up, and they just start blasting both of them. They're aiming towards Megatron, but I don't think they really care either way. And as that's happening, Blades lands with Wild Bill. And Flint's like, but I thought, so that's a quick turnabout for Flint to be like, I'm going to murder you. And then he realized, oh, wait, you guys saved my friend.
Yeah.
Great storytelling, because you give him the moment of making sure we understand that Flint cares so much about his dudes that he recognizes that you saved one of my friends. So maybe I'm wrong about all you robots being bad.
Quick turn.
And the Maulers aren't going to stop Megatron. They're just going to make him mad. So we head into part 4, where this is now Megatron has, he's crushed these Maulers. He's ripped the tops off them. He's flipped them upside down. Grimlock is defeated on the ground. He's a tired dinosaur. Megatron's using the Mauler as like a weapon, like he's going to he literally throws at the Joes. This scale is more appropriate.
Yeah.
This is not the Mauler fitting in the palm of his hand. This is him having to use 2 hands to pick the Mauler up over his head. And he throws it at the Joes. It explodes against their Awe Striker at the Joes, at Action Force. It explodes against their Awe Striker.
Flint looking as scared as he's ever looked.
As scared as he's ever looked. And he doesn't know what to do. Even the other robots seem powerless to stop him. The one called Grimlock looks out of it. And Blades here, he went down after one blast from Megatron's cannon. What are we going to do? But meanwhile, that Centurion guy, he is just standing there as though he's forgotten how to fight. So Flint's playing the narrator to make sure we understand the stakes.
Do you see what's happening here? So the first page, Megatron is remembering. It's from his point of view.
Yeah.
The second page is Flint's point of view of the same events.
That's cool.
And so now on the third page, and this will continue, we're getting Centurion's point of view.
That's great.
So there's symmetry amongst all these pages.
I like that a lot. And and each time they remember, it progresses the story a little bit.
Yeah.
So he remembers how effortlessly Megatron beat him. And that was in Transformers number 70, 76, 70. I can't, what are my eyes? 7. Well, it's either a 6 or a 0. To be honest, I don't know. It looks like a 6.
76.
76. So he's having flashbacks of that. He's a helpless joke, he thinks. What was it? Wheeljack called me an ancient relic. He sees the Joes helping each other, but they're about to die for Megatron. He sees Grimlock picking himself up. What's he going to do? And then Grimlock remembers. And Grimlock then picks up the story, and he attacks Megatron one final time.
Yeah.
And they end up in the middle of a natural gas field.
He rips Megatron's gun off of his wrist.
Yep. And then now Wild Bill is remembering.
The final
Now Wild Bill is remembering. He's having flashbacks to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And an adventure, an experience that he had there, where they pulled 6 of their men out of a hellhole, but he wanted to go back for the 7th, but his commanding officer said no, that they would never make it out alive. So they had to save the 6 they had to lose the 7th in order to save the 6, or actually rather lose the 8th, because he would be the 7th, in order to save the rest of them. So it was 1 life for 8. And that's what the choice that they're getting faced with now. Flint calls in a massive airstrike. They figure they're in the middle of the natural gas field. When that thing blows up, it'll take out Megatron, but it will also lose Grimlock. So Wild Bill says, don't let Grimlock die. Now, I don't know how Wild Bill knows who Grimlock is.
It's a very good point.
He joined the fight midway, got blown out of the sky, and saved by Blades. It would have made more sense to me had it been Blades.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. No, I take that back, because it's not Wild Bill saying it. I'm 100% wrong there, although that was a fun observation to make. 100% wrong.
Got it.
There's a jagged.
Oh, it's Blades saying.
Yeah, it's Blades saying it.
Yeah.
So I take that back. But that's good comic book language. I just missed it. I visually missed it. On the dialogue balloon, there's a electrical style jaggedness to it. So that tells you it's being done by an electronic voice, which means it's not Wild Bill. So it's actually, they're in Blades. It is Blades saying, what about Grimlock? You're going to kill him. I'm sorry, Blades. It's Grimlock's life for countless thousands. Megatron has to be stopped. And that's when Wild Bill gets that, like, well, that's what I went through in Vietnam. Look, we're doing it again.
And for me, Wild Bill's affinity or empathy for, Grimlock, equating it to, one of his fellow humans, obviously Wild Bill is,
well,
he's open.
But it's also, well, it's a layer of human connection on the story that the story didn't need.
Sure.
But why not?
Yeah.
Because what did Larry explored, like the PTSD of these situations all the time.
Right.
And that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
He's having a PTSD flashback because remember, he just almost died. So Wild Bill's just had a near death brush.
Yeah.
He's got to be like freaked out because he thought he was going to die. So this brought up that PTSD from being in Vietnam. I get it.
But he's believing that Grimlock is a sentient, has humanity, and I just find it ironic because given Grimlock's propensity for thinking nothing of people.
Yeah, Grimlock hates humans. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But
so we have a couple Sky Strikers flying in.
So we've gone from dragonflies being called in to maulers to now we're gonna have Sky Strikers flown in.
Do we know who's flying it? I don't think we do. Nope, I don't think we get names. But just 2 Sky Strikers. ETA target zone 4 minutes.
No ace.
No ace. How Grimlock feels about being a sacrificial lamb here, and Wild Bill calling it murder. I sat back once before in Southeast Asia and watched as a man's life was sacrificed for the greater good. This time I'm going to do something. And as they're talking, he says, "What about you, Centurion? You're just going to stand there and watch as those jets blow the hell out of your leader?" And you probably are. Seems like watching is all you can do. So Wild Bill is really ginning up these other Autobots. And what's wild here, no pun intended, is basically what he's saying is, don't let that guy die. You should go die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
we were just applauding Wild Bill a moment ago.
Yeah, but that's essentially what they're setting up with this story. I couldn't wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
They're not saying find another way. They're just saying don't let the popular Dinobot die.
That's right.
Because he's needed for future stories.
That's right.
So Megatron is kaijuing fighting. The Centurion comes rumbling in, which it's all very fun, big robots punching each other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They drag Grimlock out. Blades does.
Out of the fray, yeah.
He says, okay, that's Grimlock safe. Now Wild Bill goes, but what about Centurion? And Blade says, I get the impression from what he told me that Centurion won't be coming out of there. And Centurion has a smile on his face. As
he has a purpose.
As he has a purpose. He gets a purpose in life. And that purpose is to go kaboom.
And take Megatron with
while
him.
Megatron falls into the Thames.
Yeah, they both. So yeah, they're both on fire, flaming together. And
nothing could have survived that. That's what they say. Nothing could have survived that. It was more than just friendship that made Centurion take Grimlock's place. Our own engineer Wheeljack called Centurion an ancient relic. So it wasn't just friendship. It was also peer pressure. An outdated robot who was preventing him from repairing injured robots. So apparently Centurion stopped Wheeljack from repairing injured robots. That's what was happening
so at the outset of the story, so Grimlock was using all of his Wheeljack was saying to Grimlock, you're using all the resources, all the Autobots are we're spending all this time repairing Centurion instead of looking for our buddies.
Oh, so it's
and instead of going after Decepticons, basically, you're obsessed with like fixing up Centurion. And so Centurion was saying, I'm distracting all the Autobots from what they should be doing.
Oh,
because of
I
Grimlock's.
read this as somehow like this was a story point that was in previous issues of Transformers where like somehow Centurion was saying to Wheeljack, don't heal those guys. They're battle, they're warriors. That's how I read this, but you are correct.
Centurion is taking himself off the chessboard so that
Grimlock
Grimlock can no longer obsess over him.
Is that screaming Herb Trimpe or what?
Yeah.
The screaming Herb Trimpe Flint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So they salute their dead Centurion friend. And Megatron lives.
Well, Megatron fell into the Thames.
Yeah. And that is, they both fell into the Thames, really.
Yeah, as
so
molten
Centurion
metal.
could be alive. He could be alive.
So spoiler, shall we?
Yeah, tell me.
Shall we spoil it? So in Transformers issue number 160, so
It's like 40 issues later.
Yeah, the bodies of Megatron and Centurion were later fished out of the Thames in that issue in a story called Salvage.
And were they fused together, or
that I don't
do we have
know.
any idea?
That I don't
Okay.
know. I just know that.
So that really took Megatron off the board for 40 issues.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
good-
that's good though, because if you're going to have a sacrifice like that, keep him off the board for a while.
you know.
It is the worst when TV shows do this occasionally. Like they spend all the time ramping up how important it is for something to happen, and then like you lead a whole season up to it, and like this person's leaving the show, and I'm out of here, and Yoda's gonna go train with Luke, and Baby Yoda's gonna go, Grogu's gonna train with Luke, and we spend an entire 10 episodes leading up to it, and then they start the third season, and you're like, Grogu's back, baby.
Yeah.
So you get Dinobots dying, and Centurion's dying, and Megatron's got to die in order to protect everybody, and then he's back 3 issues later. That would have been terrible.
Yeah. Talk about lowering the stakes. To
So
nothing.
good. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. What are you about to read here?
So just before we closed out, from the mission control of this final issue, they did announce the winner of the fabulous wraparound cover competition. So congratulations, in a time machine, to N.J. Passmore from Haslemere in Surrey. But this is what I wanted to focus on. So if you remember, there was a reader who wrote in mail call and saying, "What's the name of Shipwreck's parrot?"
Oh
yeah. And you know, our editor said, certainly not Polly. And so they have a bit that says, "Name that parrot." So somebody won the competition, but there's a bit of a snafu. It says, it was in Action Force 19 that Ryan Hunter asked for the name of Shipwreck's parrot and set in motion one of Action Force's greatest competitions. After much deliberation by a panel of avian experts, one name emerged as a clear winner, and that was Seasick. So
it's kind of fun.
Dubbed by the readers of Action Force.
I thought you were going to say something like Ringo Starr. Like Ringo Starr, big Action Force fan. Oh, that's great. I like Seasick's hard to say as a character name, but I kind of like it.
Shipwreck and Seasick.
I kind of like that a lot.
What could have been.
That's a lot of fun.
It says, but, and this is a big but, the winner did a Combat Colin, that's the comedic strip in Action Force, and forgot to provide his or her name and address. And without this, how can he or she receive the magnificent prize of Shipwreck and the aforementioned Seasick from Hasbro's Action Force toy range? Well, to set this situation to rights, we'd like Seasick's patron to send their details to us here at Marvel. But this is not as easy as it seems. There are a lot of dishonest people in the world, most of them working for Cobra. So, to avoid Shipwreck and Seasick falling into the wrong hands, we'd like to set a question that only the real winner can answer, and that is, Seasick is actually the parrot's code name. What is his real name? Got that? If anyone out there knows, write to Name That Parrot Winner, 23 Redden Place, London.
This is fabulous.
The amount of effort that goes into this.
That's all Richard Starking's doing.
Yeah. So
that's great.
Reader writes in, comes up with an idea. Yeah, great. Let's do that. Let's give away a Shipwreck action figure, and let's name that parrot. And somebody wrote in, and we chose the winner, but they didn't leave their name.
Awesome.
Let's find that person.
Awesome.
So, yeah,
that's great.
The level of community engagement is just.
I hope we get an answer to that in future installments. Also, let me throw this out there. Hey, this feels like a Super 7 move. Super 7, you need to issue a Shipwreck version with a different colored poly.
Purple.
And call it with a purple poly, and you call it Seasick. Super 7, you have to do this. You need to put out and I even figured out a reason why. When Shipwreck goes over there, a lot of times, I think most of the time, you can't bring animals from country to country because they carry different diseases and stuff, right? Like we have to go into quarantine. So when Shipwreck goes on missions over there, he needs a parrot. He keeps Seasick over there at Action Force UK.
Yeah.
And when he comes home, Polly's like, Squawk, where you been? Yeah, that's what's going on.
A parrot in every port, Joe.
A parrot in every port.
That's what we need. That is what the world is missing.
Super 7, we need Seasick and Shipwreck. I love it. Michael, thank you again for another great adventure of Action Force. Listeners, tune in next week for more Action Force excitement. Full force?
Full force.
And now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.